I'm going to tell you guys how to do the brake setup on these cars. So if you guys didn't watch my last video, this is a 1988 Mk3 Toyota Supra. And yeah, so on this car, this is the Mercedes S500 4-pot brake caliper conversion setup. I will walk you guys through how to do it. I think I did this install on my car in 45 minutes. As long as you have everything here. So I had all this stuff to do it, but it's really not that hard to do if you can find the brakes. The brakes are getting harder to find now, but you could probably find a set on eBay, or you could find a set brand new if you wanted to, for a decent price. Like I said, 4-pot, it is a Brembo. I didn't just put the sticker on there because I thought Brembo was cool. It's actually a 4-pot Brembo brake. They're pretty cool. They're actually pretty sweet brakes for factory setup. So it's a quick change out. The pads come out really easily. It's just a pin that you pull out. But the benefit to this is obviously you get a bigger brake, but you're able to run a 13-inch rotor versus the 11.5 that comes factory on these cars. There's some little tricks and things that you need to do in order to get this to fit and in order to get that to fit. But it is a pretty easy install. So bear with me. I'm going to hurry and jack the car up, take the wheel off, and then we'll get more into it. Okay, so wheels off, and there you go. You can see a better idea. So I've heard a lot of people skeptical about these brakes. This is a Stop Tech rotor, cross-drilled and slotted. A lot of people don't like the cross-drill because they crack. They do. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. They haven't yet. I've had these on the car for a while now, and I haven't had any issues. So we'll maybe switch those out for something different. But there you go. So you can see how big that brake actually is. The factory ones, which are right here and are gross, looks like this. So quite a bit smaller. I know it's not the best comparison in the world, but so you can see, comparing to my hand, it's bigger than my hand. Pretty good size. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 pots on it. But yeah, it's a pretty cool brake. You've got just the one pin back here, or I'm sorry, you got 2. So you got one pin here, one pin here. This piece pulls out and the brake pads come out. So pretty cool. With these brakes, so I'm obviously not doing like an install video today, but these brakes, you can utilize the factory line. So there's the factory line right there. Make sure you don't put the brakes on upside down. I made that mistake. I wasn't paying attention, and I put the brakes on upside down, and I was kind of kicking myself because I thought that I had damaged the brakes. Went to bleed them, kept bleeding them over and over and over. The valve was on the bottom. Actually, the calipers were flipped. So I had this side on the driver's side and vice versa. Bleeding it, the fluid would just run out the bottom of it, and I could not figure out what I was doing wrong. And then it dawned on me that I had them upside down. So make sure you put them on the right side. But yes, so you can use factory lines. They kind of just curl up and around. You can see a little bit. They curl around and then back up to the chassis there. So you can use like the drift motion ones, the drift motion braided lines, and those will work just fine. But you do not have to modify these brake lines at all. I didn't have to cut anything on any of that. It just worked. So you do not need to run out and buy expensive brake lines if you're, under the pinch for money. The factory ones will work. You do have to remove the little flange or the little keeper for this piece right here. Just pull that guy out and then kind of let it just hang. I just looped it up and around and back up, and there it is right there. So it just comes down, it loops up and around, and then to the brake. So the only thing you have to be mindful of when you're putting these on, the bolts on the back that bolt these on to the steering knuckle, you have to run washers. I ran machined washers so they wouldn't crush when I bolted these on. I did 2. So I ran 2 washers behind each bolt, and that way it centered the brake caliper up even with the rotor. So it's the caliper's not pushed to one side. You don't get like a weird wearing or anything like that. It's centered up with the 2 washers. So when I put those in, the washers went in just fine. I think I got them from like Ace Hardware. They have the ones that are, when I say machined, it's got like a, one side's kind of smooth. The edges of the washer are smooth. The other sides are sharp. That's a machine washer. They're not going to crush when you torque them down. So I ran those on there. That's it. I think I'm even running the factory, not the factory, but the brake pads that came inside these. I got these from a junkyard here local in Salt Lake. I paid $35 for both brakes off the Mercedes. While I was taking them off of the car at the junkyard, I had 4 people come up to me and ask me if I was taking them off to put them on a Supra. So it's pretty popular. The only thing too, when putting these on, this hub is smaller than the rotor. So the issue you'll run into is the centering. You can buy these things called Hubcentric rings. They go on there, kind of like a tapered ring, slips onto the knuckle, and then the brake pad or the brake rotor slips onto that. That centers the brake rotor on there so you don't get like a weird wobbling. They're pretty cheap. They are here. So I purchased these ones from Precision European Motor Works. So this is what it looks like. If I can get it to focus on you guys, hold on there, maybe. So it's kind of tapered along here, and then it's got a ring, like a lip on the edge. You guys can see that right there. So this is gonna go on like this. That'll go in here, and then you push the rotor on, and it pushes this ring against the steering knuckle, and it centers up for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So make sure you get these if you're doing this conversion. That's about the only thing that I really would recommend. I think even the bolts that came with these from the Mercedes, I think they fit too. I think it's the same thread pitch and everything. So this is the only thing that you really need to get when you're doing this. So make sure you do that. A lot of people will think that they can just center them up on their own, but they can't. And then they have weird wobbling issues with the rotor. So just make sure you get these rings. They're pretty cheap. It came with 4 of them. So I've got 2 extra ones laying around to do all 4 wheels, but I just needed the 2. So, but yeah, so today what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to paint this here. I've always wanted to do the Nardo gray color on here. Nardo gray, primer gray, elephant gray, cement gray, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to paint just this portion, so I'm not going to paint this. I'm just going to paint this cover here. I'm going to pull this sticker off, and I'm going to make a new sticker. I'm going to paint this gray and move on with life. So that's all I'm doing today, but I thought I would explain to you guys how to do these brake conversions, the big brake setup, if you guys are looking to get something a little bit more performance out of this car. So once I started doing the performance mods and stuff on the car, obviously the brakes were the next thing to go. I was getting a lot of brake fade. I could definitely feel the brakes not wanting to lock up as hard as they should. And I had a buddy of mine tell me about this conversion, and I ended up finding them for really cheap and threw them on, and I haven't looked back. So they're pretty good quality brakes. I mean, they're Brembos, so you're not gonna have any issues with them. I know that they do have also replacement service kits that you can buy, and you can restore the brakes, and it's pretty cheap. So there's a couple O-rings and things in there that you need for that. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna get these painted, show you what it looks like after the fact, and then we can go from there. So if you guys do have any questions as far as any of this stuff goes, just let me know. Okay, so the only other thing I forgot to tell you guys, I'm trying to get a good, I just have really bad lighting in here. The dust shield, so that's this piece right here, okay? You can hear it's like that aluminum, that thinner aluminum dust shield that goes behind the brake. So we're looking at the back side of the brake right here. Dust shield, you do have to go in and you have to trim this out. So you got to cut this piece out just a little bit bigger on both the top and the bottom to get the brake caliper to fit. You can see how close it is. It's about a finger's width from the back of the brake to this dust shield. I just used a right angle grinder. I just went through, cut it out, kind of just guessed, did a couple trial and error cuts, and then I just didn't want to cut too much out. A lot of people will just remove these. I wanted to keep mine, so I just cut it open a little bit. The brake fits in there just fine. Some of you are probably cringing while I'm doing this. I'm not taking the whole brake off to do this. And like I said, I'm only doing the piece that you can see. I'm not painting the rest of it, so I'm not too concerned about it. You're not going to really see any of it. You saw I went and cleaned some of the paint off. There was still some of the residue left over from the stickers. So I just cleaned that. So it's looking pretty good. You can see I was kind of hitting it with the heat gun. I don't want it to run, but I've also got to do a pretty thick coat of it. That's why I was hitting it with the heat gun to try to get it to flash a little bit quicker. I'm going to double check all this stuff underneath here before I just throw the wheel back on and call it good. I'm going to make sure there's no overspray. If there is, then I can pull the brake pads out and clean those really well and then put them back in, just make sure. But I think I got all the tape in there pretty tight, so there shouldn't be any overspray. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make the sticker, the Brembo sticker that goes right here. I've got the vinyl cutter just upstairs, so I'm going to hurry and go do that, take a quick measurement, throw that on there. I'm just going to do it in black, and then I'm going to clear coat over it once I put the sticker down, and we should be good to go. Okay, well, it turned out pretty good. I'm just waiting for that clear coat to finish up. There's a couple little imperfections, like right there, just because there was kind of some gunk buildup. I sanded that down, got most of it pretty much out of there, and then I clear coated over the whole sticker, so it'll be nice and smooth with the brake. And yeah, so we're good to go. Got a little bit of overspray right there. That's just on the back side of the brake pad, so shouldn't be an issue. But now I'm just gonna let it dry up, throw the wheel back on, and we're good to go. On to the other side. All right, well, hopefully you guys liked the video, kind of a shorter one. Like I said, I wanted to make it just so I could show you guys how to do the brake kit on this car with the Mercedes S500 brakes. So if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to shoot me a message and I can try to help you out the best I can. But it's a pretty easy, straightforward process. So there will be plenty more to go. And like I said, if you guys want to see something in particular, let me know and I'm happy to film it and talk about it. And we can go from there. See you guys on the other side.